Alright, Bill Henshaw here again, Constitutional Crisis Channel. More current events, and this looks like good news across the board, unless you're a fan of Hillary Clinton and people like that. And that's the nominee by Donald Trump of Neil Gorsuch to the Supreme Court, which it looks like will be approved and should be approved, if nothing else on a party basis only. This guy looks like the real deal. I'm saying to myself, where the hell did he come from? And the guy's 49, so he'll be on the court for 25 or 30 years, maybe a bit longer than that. And I've read some of the cases that I've gotten off internet articles about this guy, and he looks like he knows some of the real issues here. And it makes me wonder, given my experiences to date over 4 decades of dealing with these bastards that graduate law school, I blow them out all over the place. They don't seem to know what I'm talking about. If Gorsuch does, how did he learn that? And if you don't know, by the way, he went to Harvard, Chicago University, and that famous university in England I can't think of the name of right now. I mean, he has all the credentials you would expect from a Supreme Court nominee. And yet he has some strikingly different views, quote-unquote different. And the good news for us is if he does get confirmed, here's what could happen, kind of like a domino effect, because you're now going to have 2 of them on the court that are firmly committed to original intent, the other one being Justice Thomas. And Gorsuch, may be able to bring along Justice Kennedy, who was his mentor earlier in his career. That makes 3 solid votes. Now that leaves the other 2 conservatives, Alito and the Chief Justice. If we get them, and we may get them now, because with 3 solid votes, they can see that their 2 votes will make differences in how the cases come out. Now they'll come out 5-4 in our favor on a much more conservative slant. To be sure, it isn't perfect all the time, but it's a lot more consistent with the Constitution. And if Trump gets more appointees, and I think he will even in one term, especially the seat of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that's a big change. From a liberal idiot like that to get a real conservative in there. Now we have a solid 6-3. So we'll see what develops there. But Gorsuch, if you don't know, the cases you want to look up, and they'll be in the notes below here. I'm just going to cite the cases. I'll give you a full citation on them. But you want to look into a case called Padilla v. Lynch. It's an immigration case. There's 2 cases that were decided by the 10th Circuit. The same case, but it went back for a rehearing after the law was changed. This is the whole big deal about this particular case. And then you have a case called Creative Hearts. That's a case out of Colorado, where this poor corporation that provides services to people that are involuntarily, in their care permanently. They can't hardly get out. They only get out, if at all, if they have a wheelchair or a cane or what have you. And what happened was that the government agency involved changed the rules in midstream and fined this company $800,000 for not obeying its instructions that were not only not in effect in 2008, they didn't even go into effect until 2011. And the 10th Circuit had a real problem with this. Now, I've not finished reviewing this case myself, but nowhere in there did I see anything about ex post facto laws, and that's exactly what these would be. But the court was mostly troubled by the fact that its decisions could be reversed by congressional action, which is bad enough. That's a tape for another day. But that it could be reversed by the actions of an administrative agency. There are big-time questions here about delegation of powers, separation of powers. And I'm going to tease the viewers a bit here, because look at these cases and get back to me. I'm going to do a follow-up video the next time, which might be 2 or 3 weeks. And I'll let you know what the really important parts of these are. If those of you can figure it out, we're going to have a lot to talk about, because these are big-time issues. And if these carry over to cases that we present, we're going to do very well when Gorsuch gets on the court. And any other Trump appointees that happen to come along the way, we'll see about that part. But these kind of things are really, really encouraging. And then another case that's cited here, he had nothing to do with the Supreme Court case called Department of Transportation versus the Association of American Railroads, 2015. It was decided March 9, 2015. It does not have a citation in the hardbound books that I'm aware of. But look at this case closely. Read the concurrence of Clarence Thomas. There is so many good things in here, and you need to be aware of what's going on. And by the way, also take a look at Justice Thomas's concurrence in the case of United States versus Lopez, 514 U.S. 549. I mean, this guy is clearly on the right track here, and if Gorsuch is anything like him, like I said, now we've got 2, maybe 3 solid votes. And who knows, they might even eventually be able to bring along Justice Breyer in the mix. I mean, you don't know about him, but I have more hope for him than I do the 3 women on the court. So this is going to be a very interesting confirmation process, and I would personally love to have 30 seconds, and I'll tell you in the upcoming video why. Because I can tell you in that amount of time whether this guy is the real deal or not. See if you can figure it out why from reading the opinions that I've told you about, and take a look and see where it is I'm headed, because it's all the right direction for us. Now, continuing on the nomination of Gorsuch, my first thought was how much better off we are than if Clinton had got elected in there as president, and now we're going to get Donna Shalala or somebody like that in there as a justice, or that other idiot Lonnie Grenier. I mean, thank God we don't get people like that on the court. We don't need no more of them. But you do have to wonder, as I've said in earlier videos, it looks like to me that Vice President Mike Pence may be the power behind the throne, and he may have had some significant input into this particular nomination. I will give Trump some credit in this area because this reflects a lot of what he said during the campaign and changes that he wants to make. So that's an open question right now. Whether we find out more with confirmation, I don't know. But just something for you to think about, and bear carefully in mind that I do think Pence has a lot more power as the vice president than a lot of them have had in the past. And we'll see how that plays out too. Thank you.